We're waving goodbye to winter and welcoming spring in a big way. A huge day of motor racing coming up here in northeast Victoria. We're about 2.5 hours drive from Melbourne. That's where you'll find Winton Motor Raceway, a major draw card for the beautiful rural township of Benalla. The penultimate round of the series this year. It's our third visit to Victoria. They've been great hosts throughout the 2018 season. And of course, it all wraps up in a few weeks' time at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Tony Shebeki, who's been travelling with his title now, I think your third, fourth year in this job, isn't it, Tony? You've seen a lot of stars that have gone overseas from this series come back. We've seen Super 2 winners. We've seen recently the Kumo Cup going to Tyler Everingham, a graduate of this series. So many drivers. Yeah. Welcome, Tony.
Let's have a look at some of the highlights from our race one this morning. We started at 8:30 this morning. It was a nice early brisk start here at Winton, and it was a good start too for our two front runners. Well, Cameron Shields got a great start, as did Jaden Ojeda, but unfortunately for Cameron Shields, it all went a little bit pear-shaped.
Yeah, just down at turn 4, he did. Jaden Ojeda tucking in nicely. He was hung out to wide early there at turn 3, bit of a coming together with Thomas Smith there, and he got sent over the back of the ripple strip there as well. But as the field came around, there was a touch of wheels there with Ryan Sewell, and he went off to the grass, tried to steer it back on, but I think he used his senses around him and said, hey, there's a flag point right there. Best I stay left of that rather than try and lose control and head back into the mid-pack and create a bigger issue than what I did. He went to the back of the field, but fought back very, very hard indeed to bring home the end of that race. The checkered flag came down, and it was a ripping race win there for Jaden Ojeda, who recovered from a pretty tough start to the weekend yesterday, where he watched race 1 of round 4 from the side of the track. Let's have a quick look at the grid. It's Aaron Love on pole in the number 78. Lockie Hughes in the 15 shares the front row. Jackson Walls to Ryan Sewell. Watch for Jaden Ojeda off the third row with Antonio Astudi right next to him. Watch for the 73 of Cameron Shields also on the left-hand side of the track. Thomas Smith, Zaid Tones, Artie Johnny and Josh Smith sets the scene for race 2 of round 5.
So reverse grid from race 1. Our top 5 contenders go reverse gridding, and it is Aaron Love. He gets a fantastic start off the front, and slitting in behind him is Lockie Hughes as they make their way through turns 1 and 2.
Jackson Walls did well. Lockie Hughes into the wall.
Yeah, got a touch up, and unfortunately at turn 2, that is off for Lockie Hughes. That is a real shame for him. A good start though, as you mentioned, for Jackson Walls. He moves into second place. Ryan Sewell into third. Jaden Ojeda fourth. Cameron Shields has dropped back a couple of spots as well.
Yeah, Cameron Shields starting out of 7th, so he's probably found his way basically to where he started the race. In fact, he's got himself a position up heading into Penrite for the first time. And just acknowledging that he swept across in front of him there was the Antonio Astudi, or Tony to his mates. And safety car out, that would be before the car that's ended up in the wall down there. Lockie Hughes won a race yesterday. Lockie Hughes trying to come over, and did get over, and got over smartly indeed to cover off that run down to turn 1. In fact, he had a really good inside look from the outside there. Problem is, it puts him to the outside. Clashed wheels there. Was it with...
Came in on Ryan Sewell.
Yeah, Ryan Sewell. Yeah, that was just the clash of wheels there. So Ryan Sewell even was able to look over and see what was happening. So yeah, there's the car bobbling around. This is a really good form-up. Exactly what we want to see. There's the green light, and away we go. Green light at the top of the grid there, up on the wall, and flag being waved at the start and finish line. Charge down to turn 1 again. It's Aaron Love to Jackson Walls. There's Ryan Sewell, and there's Jaden Ojeda poised in position 4.
Oh, Jackson Walls just going a little bit sideways.
And they'll take advantage of it. Cam Shields pops out there as well. He'll have Ojeda in his slipstream right behind him. It's Antonio Astudi just getting a little bit mugged by some of these more experienced racers. Pushing on through. Antonio, of course, one of our Burson rookies, fighting it out for the title this year. As the field continues around the sweeper, and up to Penrite corner they go. Big under brakes. Cam Shields gets a bit squirrely. Looks to the inside of Jackson Walls. Great move there by the McDonald's racer, but back up the inside again. Jackson Walls is not giving up because he's got Ryan Sewell trying to tag onto this run as well. He's going to get hung out to dry by 3 of the fastest F4 drivers in the country. Gets 2 through there, but Jaden Ojeda has to wait for another opportunity. So Jackson Walls, the really traditional type move. If the guy gets through on at Penrite, follow him through on the guy because he's being pushed out wide. And that's what we've seen Jackson just experience there as they came out of the S's now into turn 11.
She was a great drive by Cameron Shields. Started from P7 at the start of the race, was there for the restart. He's picked up 5 spots in effectively 1 lap, so got a really good restart.
Have a look who's going with him though. Ryan Sewell, Jaden Ojeda's 1 spot further back behind Jackson as well. So there he is, he's through now. So Jackson Walls has got Tony Astuti, Zay Tones and Josh Smith. There's that battle there. The number 27 is Zay Tones, and he just goes back 1 spot to one of the Rising Stars, the CAMS Rising Stars program races there as well. Zay Tones.
Yeah.
And Jaden Ojeda now confirmed into position for Aaron Love. Now, we'll be starting to feel the weight of the pressure coming from him from Shields, Sewell, Ojeda. Arguably the bigger names in the 2018 CAMS Payce Australian Formula 4 Championship.
Both Cameron Shields and Ryan Sewell have taken advantage of the CAMS Foundation Rising Star program. They're 2 recipients of a $50,000 scholarship given to them at the start of the year to help them with their Formula 4 budget this year.
We've got one in the wall. That's the number 50, which is Audi Jonic. That's a big off to be able to go out over there. And multicoloured extravaganza on the airbox there for the McGale. But Audi Jonic, one of our rookies for AGI Sport, has found himself
safety
off
car
over
again,
there.
Des.
Yep, safety car. That's a shame. We've still got 9 laps to go, and we've had 2 interventions on the BMW Melbourne safety car. Beautiful looking M4. Just what you want when you want to control the field of the CAMS Payce Australian Formula 4 Championship. And there is the magnificent BMW, or Melbourne BMW M4, which we thank them for. The crane truck is cleared from the scene down there at the exit to the sweeper. And we'll go down and talk with Greg Rust in the lane.
Boys, just quickly, pretty dejected. Lockie Hughes has just emerged from the... Did you go to the medical centre for a check?
Yeah, we went to the medical centre, but I'm all fine, no pain, just emotional pain at the moment.
What happened?
I'm not too sure. I have to look at the replay before I say too much, but I just was turning into turn 2 and I felt a big hit from the rear and just lost the car and had no... The car was broken and just went into the wall, so...
I sense how flat you are, and that is because the state of the car. Is the car okay? What's it like?
Yeah, the car's pretty bad, so I'm just hoping I can get out for the next race.
Good to see that you're in good shape, mate. That's the most important thing. Cars can be repaired. Boys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Rusty. And we are back under racing conditions. Here, safety car has gone off. And we are racing once more. Aaron Love, another great start from the restart for him. This time, though, he's got Cameron Shields and Ryan Sewell behind him, so they're going to be chasing him down pretty quick, I would have thought.
Yeah, they certainly are. Let's see if we can keep this clean to the end of the race. There's 2.5 hours until the start of the next race. Ryan Sewell down the inside of Cam Shields. He left the door wide open. The Rising Star driver goes right on through, and Jaden Ojeda setting himself up for a run at Cameron Shields as well. He's looking at the back of the McDonald's entry and wanting to get through. He's got a bit of pace, Jaden Ojeda, and see Sewell ever the man to take advantage of a situation, and that's what makes a pro race driver. Take advantage of everything that life throws at you, and he just pushed it in there. Really didn't have to push it in too hard, and Cam Shields had absolutely no answer for that really strong charge there by the Rising Star driver. So 2.5 hours until the start of the next race. We saw a couple of cars damaged heavily yesterday. They're a big Meccano set, these Formula cars, so as long as they can get them apart and get the spares back onto them, we'll be right, but it's always very, very close.
Yeah, those 2 cars we saw yesterday were the cars that belonged to Josh Smith and Zay Tones. They both had some significant damage to the rear of the car, gearbox and the like. But fortunately for those guys, they were able to get them back out on track for race number 3 yesterday afternoon. Hopefully, as you said, the same can happen for Lockie Hughes. His damage predominantly seemed to be at the front of the car, Daz.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these Formula 4 drivers all get on when they head over to the Morris Finance Drivers Lounge after this race. There'll be some terse words across the croissants over there. But the race does continue. There's Jackson Walls now, who was up as far as P2 in the start of this race. Now just sitting down there in position number 5. And he's got a good challenge being thrown at him now as we see Jaden Ojeda, who has gone back a spot there. Walls has gone up one, so he's taken it. And a big lock up by Sewell into Penwright that time. There's that swap around. So the 11's gone through on the 31. Jaden Ojeda, who's already won 2 races here this weekend, has been caught napping by Jackson. And he's got himself through there nicely. Let's see what transpires as far as Jaden Ojeda's charged back into a podium position. There's Ryan Sewell. He looked to be understeering a little bit there. And there goes the run as we see Ojeda get back that spot on the number 11, the Objective Racing Patricia Corsa driver. Young fellow Jackson Walls learning his trade as Ryan Sewell has been given a 5-second penalty. Must have been something on the restart that he's been given a penalty for. But Ryan Sewell just suffering from some understeer as well down there at turn 10, and quite a strong amount of understeer. We'll see what happens now as Cam Shields recovers from that spot that he lost earlier on. And he now will, as long as he stays in touch, will inherit second place once that 5-second penalty is applied.
So Aaron Love remains our leader. He hasn't won a race this year. They've been predominantly shared between Aaron Sewell, Cameron Shields and Jaden Ojeda. Lockie Hughes getting a first race win yesterday. But Aaron Love, the man to catch, 1.5 seconds in front. Ryan Sewell will drop down the sheets a little bit now. With that 5-second penalty, that'll slot him into 5th place. Shields and Ojeda will effectively move up 1 spot each.
Love has done a really good job commanding this race. A reverse grid start certainly helped him, but he's actually had the heavy hitters of this championship lining up behind him have a go at him. And this is the battle we're seeing now for Ojeda's just up the road with Smith and Zaid Tones. Jackson Walls has gone backwards rapidly, so too sure what's happened there because he was up in that podium position. Checkered flag now coming out, and Aaron Love takes a win in the CAMS Payce Australian Formula 4 Championship. And I can tell you that Jackson Walls just came past us and it sounded a very, very ill Formula 4. But have a look at that. Aaron Love, a victory here today. Ryan Sewell, Cam Shields and Jaden Ojeda all lining up behind him, but had no answer for the number 78, Coco's box master, Barbagallo. Clearly Western Australia when you've got Barbagallo car dealerships emblazoned down the side of your car.
Very much. And his first win for 2018 for Aaron Love. So a great start for his winning momentum.
We're going to take a quick break in our coverage here of the Shannons Nationals at Winton Motor Raceway. Come back with a lot more right after this. Statistically, Team BRM are one of the most successful in the history of Australian open wheel competition, and there have been some great names that have come through and worked with them over the years as well, from the likes of Bruno Senna, Richie Stanaway, Earl Bamber and many, many more. Bathurst winner Nick Percat, for example. We wanted to introduce you to a fast young man who's doing some really impressive things in terms of the Burson Auto Parts Rookie of the Year in the Australian Formula 4 Championship. Just 16 years of age. Lockie Hughes, g'day.
How are you?
You're having a terrific year, and consistency's really been the hallmark for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, consistency's been really important this year. Obviously, it's a really tough championship, and it's been hard to get some good results because there's a lot of experienced drivers and fast drivers in this field. So just been chipping away at it, and to win the last race was just amazing.
He hails from the Gold Coast, is currently in year 11. We need a little bit of perspective in what you just said, because if I'm right, this is your first year in a race car and your first year in Formula 4 as well.
Yeah, it's been completely different to everything I've done. Go-karts is a completely different ball game. You learn a lot, but these things are so much different to drive. But yeah, I'm loving it so far, and hopefully we can grab some more wins.
As you can tell from his answers, he's passionate. He loves his motorsport, whether it's MotoGP, Formula 1, you name it. There's all kinds of things that you could do here. You could take aim at World Endurance Championship, you could focus locally on supercars, but is Formula 1 the dream?
Formula 1's the dream. You know, I want to make the pinnacle of motorsport. I just want to have the opportunity to try and get there, and if I'm not good enough to make it, you can live with that. But, you know, to be a racing car driver is pretty amazing. It doesn't matter if it's V8 supercars, WEC, IndyCar, F1, whatever it is, it's the dream.
You know, know, the great thing is, though, they're quality kids. And that's another good thing about it. They're not just good drivers, but each of these kids out of the car is a lovely kid to talk to.
Well, they probably want to be, because they're at the moment asking mum and dad or a family member of some description or a generous benefactor to throw a hold of money at a career that they dream of starting. And I know exactly the feeling that these drivers have got. This is 30 years ago in my life that I was dreaming of this sort of thing, but it just feels like yesterday when you see some of these kids jump out of the car, and they are. The kids 16 years of age.
Cameron Shields is on the front row of the grid with Jaden Ojeda, Ryan Sewell and Aaron Love on row 2, Lachlan Hughes, Josh Smith on 3. Row 4's Jackson Walls and Thomas Smith, Zane Tones and Antonio Astudi on row 5, and Artie Jonick out there in row number 6.
Artie Jonick, of course, finished in the sand trap at the last race, and we're away for the final race of round 5 this doubleheader weekend. And down into turn 1 goes Cam Shields in the McDonald's entry. Leads them through there. It's Jaden Ojeda right onto the back of him. Ryan Sewell in there as well. Aaron Love. There goes Lockie Hughes as well, who didn't get past turn 2 in the last race yesterday. Took a win yesterday, so let's see what the rookie can do from his position 5 starting spot.
Great start for Cameron Shields. Now he needs to convert this into a win. Hasn't had one for the weekend, and would love to get one now just to grab a few more points back on Ojeda and Sewell, who have just got a little bit away from him after the first 2 races this weekend, or today I should say, here for round 5.
Cameron Shields has got a massive program in 2018. He's backing it off a massive program for 2017 as well. He's doing the Formula 4 at the top of his program. He's doing some state and national series Formula 4 and also doing some Formula 3 Premier Series racing as well. So he's got a big program of racing to do, and that's what you need to do. You need to be in a race car every weekend, if not every other weekend. And prioritise, of course, the one that you think is going to take you the furthest, and then make the other programs fit around it. So there's some generous people helping him do that. He slides wide, coming onto the straight on the opening lap, and he's going to be gazumped by at least Jaden Ojeda, and he is. And that's caused him a big problem. He's lost the lead of the race, all of his own doing. Got a bit hungry with the throttle, opened it up, and pushed himself off the edge of the track there. Can he fight back from P2?
Through turn 3 now, Ojeda leads from Shields. Ryan Sewell right on the back of Cameron Shields. These 2 AGI sport cars, Sewell and Ojeda, have been absolutely amazing this weekend.
The AGI Sport team started off a few years ago as a bit of a minnow in the open wheeler scene. They've really come on strong after last year winning the title with Nick Rowe, taking the 2017 championship. G'day to Nick watching on in WA. As we've got a big spinner going to the infield. Is that Artie Jonick again off the driver's right? The field just coming around onto turn 9. Lockie Hughes again. Still maintains that 5th spot, but after a win yesterday, he'd really like to get back on with it. There's Artie Jonick in the number 50, just trying to clean his tyres up a little bit, but that was a really fast off around the sweeper he went. But here comes the field up to turn 11 now. Jaden Ojeda leading the way. Cameron Shields right about there where he is now. Gave away the lead by running wide. Slight mistake. And boy, Tony, in CAMS Payce F4, you make one mistake, that's it. We'll go down to Greg Rust.
Guys, car 11 has been in the lane here. It didn't actually take the start, so the side pod on the left-hand side has just gone back on. Michael Patrizio thinks about to give Walls the all okay and sends him. So Patrizio course team, I should say. I'll try and find out exactly what went wrong and come back to you.
Artie Jonick's back on the track now too for those watching on the car 50. Here he comes through turn 2. Very dirty tyres and under tray there, so trying to keep things neat and tidy. Good shots of Jaden Ojeda, busy at the wheel there. A lock-up for Ryan Sewell in the CAMS Rising Star entered Ray White car. All running the Control McGale chassis, an international F4 chassis. And doing a really good job, these cars.
Ford Focus 1.6 litre EcoBoost turbo engine.
It's only a low boost engine, doesn't produce a high amount of boost. We're not talking Formula 1 type boost here, just a low boost. Give the EcoBoost a little bit of a push along. It certainly gives these slick chassis a good push through the air. But, not wanting for horsepower, the drivers. In fact, they all seem to think that there's a good amount of horsepower to start to feel how a Wings and Slicks car works. They are a Wings and Slicks car. They also don't have a huge amount of downforce, again, mostly coming from the underside of the car. Back down to Greg Rust.
Boys, they tell me at the Patrizzi course team that it was a problem with the ECU, and in the previous race, it had rubbed or damaged part of the wiring, so they've changed the ECU, and whatever the issue was with the performance of the car on the outlap, it seems to have cleared now.
So Jada now increasing that lead up front. It's broken out to 3 seconds. 5 laps down of 12. Cameron Shields in second place. Ryan Sewell in third. Aaron Love, who won our last race, in fourth place. Lockie Hughes, then another second or so back in fifth. Josh Smith, Thomas Smith, Zayd Tones, Studi, Johnny and Walls making up our 11 starting cars.
Yeah, you mentioned Zayd Tones, a tough weekend, a bit of damage yesterday. In fact, I think we've had quite a bit of damage this weekend with 2 rounds, and we've had a lot of racing. By the end of this race, they'll have 6 races over 2 days, and we've certainly done a bit of damage to the equipment. Lockie Hughes put it in at turn 2, quite low speed at the second race today, and then there was Zayd Tones, had the big shunt yesterday, of course, which tore the rear wings off 2 cars and front wings off them, so they were actually fixed up and ready to go within 2.25 hours, so that was testament to the race teams. These cars, Formula cars, so they are a little bit like a Meccano set. You pull them apart and put them back together again, but it's not like doing it in the nice quiet of the workshop in the midweek, and you're doing it at the racetrack and there's racing going on in the background, and the driver's standing there with his helmet and suit on going, I want the car back, let me in it, and the crews are still working on them. Real pressure cooker situation. It is great to see that the mechanics in the workshops or in the pit garages work under such extreme pressure to get them back out on track.
So Jada continues to clock up fastest laps of 120.61 now, and that's nearly a full second faster than anyone else in the field, and a 5-second margin, 5.7 second margin now has broken out between himself and Cameron Shields. Artie Jonick back into the lane.
Yeah, they had the shocker cover off there as well, so that's interesting to do mid-race. There's a lot of mud and debris up the side of the car, even on his visor, so he obviously he was the one that went off down at turn 6 just half a lap or so ago.
Looks like Ojeda might be on track to do that again here today, as Ryan Sewell continues to follow Cameron Shields. It's a half a second gap there, and that really hasn't changed for the last 7 laps, has it?
No, it hasn't. In fact, this race has probably seen the least amount of passing that we've seen through the entire 6 races here this weekend. They're lining up, trying to bring the cars home in one piece and trying to bring home a point or 2 as well. I dare say that would be what the teams have been drumming into these young chargers. Don't bring back a damaged car, bring back some points. That's what we're going to be all looking at the end of the year. Of course, try and get out in front and lead the race if you can. Everyone should take a bit of a lesson out for Jaden Ojeda.
Yeah.
And you know, try and learn that. He came out of the the Mike Borland school of racing, and that's what he was always like. Get the car to the end. We've got to get points. Get to the next round. Don't bin it, whatever you do.
Well, a win in this race for Jaden Ojeda will give him a better than a 50% mark for the year. It'll give him 8 wins out of 15 races, and it'll give him 3 round wins, being, of course, Phillip Island was one where he had a clean sweep there. Sandown being second one. Yeah, was it Sandown? Yeah, it was. Yeah, and here as well.
Jackson Walls down the back of the field at the moment, setting personal best lap. So he's fixed that issue at the they sat in the pit lane for, and now getting on with the job, albeit down there in 10th place at the moment.
Correct there for Jaden Ojeda. It was Phillip Island, Queensland Raceway, and then here, of course, the first round of the season being at Simmons Plains, which Jaden had some issues down there in the second race. So Ojeda still clocking up fast laps. Not as fast as he's won on lap 7 though. That 1:26.1 remains the fastest lap of the race, and keeps that margin at 6.5 seconds between himself and Cameron Shields. with 1.5 laps remaining. You can just take that foot just off ever so slightly and bring it home. And it looks like that's exactly what he's doing too. As you look at his sector times, they are dropping. About half a second off his best times for all those sectors at the moment. So Jaden's just making sure that this car comes home safely and comes home in first place as he rounds the final bend to set himself up for one more lap here of Winton Motor Raceway.
The sun baked and bathed Winton Motor Raceway. Who knew the first weekend of spring we would have such a beautiful race day here at Winton Motor Raceway, and Jaden Ojeda is going to celebrate at the end of this one. A good strong lead in the championship off this. Coming into this day of racing, or this round 5, it looked really close, but if he can get to the line now, he's going to have himself just a marginal buffer, better than what he came into today with going home, that's for sure.
And effectively really means that if he just finishes in top 3 in all 3 races over at Auckland and Pukekohe, he will probably take out the championship, you would think.
Yeah, hard job to do though, finishing on the podium for 3 races in a row.
But at least you can map out a plan. At least you know sort of what you have to do.
Yep. Here's the battle for second. These two have to go to New Zealand and just grab the whole event by the throat really and shake it as hard as they possibly can to try and get the best possible result. This is a real commanding drive here for Jaden Ojeda. The Engine Sensors Australia AGI Sport team. The team won the title last year with Nick Rowe. This guy is setting himself up and the team for a really strong entry for the first flyaway race meeting for this year for the Formula 4s. There's the checkered flag, and Jaden Ojeda takes race 3 for round 5 of the CAMS Payce Australian Formula 4 Championship. Cameron Shields will follow him home a distance 6 seconds away to Ryan Sewell, Aaron Love and Lockie Hughes.
Josh Smith in 6th place, Zayed Jones in 7th, Antonio Studi 8th, Tommy Smith in 9th. Jackson Walls finishing in 10th place after a late start into the race. And unfortunately for Audi Johnny, he found himself in 11th place.
Yeah, thank you. That was very interesting in that race. Obviously, Cameron got the jump on me, but then made a slight error out of the last corner, which just managed to let me slip past. And luckily, we had the pace. The boys gave me an awesome car, like I said, all weekend to be able to get away and get a bit of a gap, and then just had to manage that gap and make sure I didn't put any wheels off and bring it back in one piece.
And that was key. Good points as a result of that. The boys were talking in commentary about how dominant the performance was.
Yeah, definitely. We had, like, the boys have done an awesome job. Like I said, they've given me an awesome car. My engineer Timmy's been giving me all the right lessons and teaching me the right techniques, and I'm just happy to be able to perform and be able to show all the effort we're putting in, and just really great feeling.
This is the Australian GT Trophy Series. I'm Darren Smith, and Matt Koch, who has been with GT for quite a few years now, caught a lot of these races together. This is a compact field, Matt, but it's the championship decider, isn't it?
Yeah, it all comes down to this race. 60 minutes ahead of his...
Good start here. Everyone got away nice and clean. In fact, Scotty Taylor just took full advantage of those 2 Audis running a little bit wide in front, grabbed himself 2 spots because he was right next to the Ferrari, goes through on the KFC Audi of Matt Stoupas, ultimately into 2nd place. He challenged very quickly for the lead and then drove away in the Porsche. It was quick. Here's the pit stops, 2nd and 3rd in the race, 1st and 2nd in the title hunt. And this is where it changed a little bit, isn't it, Matt? The way the KFC car pulled up fully legally across over there and came out of the lane just in front of the industry car. But it wasn't for too long, because we learnt that the Audi of Matt Stoupas had a slipping clutch. There was something that really could have changed the end result of the race, the coming together of the Ferrari and the Porsche. But there goes Scotty Taylor. He continued on to take the race, and then the Ferrari took a bit of time to get going after that coming together, and ultimately home in 3rd place. Here's the challenge with Nick Kelly. Drew alongside. It was on the wrong side of the track by the time they got down to turn 11, so the car on the inside always wins out on that. Nick couldn't go side by side with him as the Porsche pushed a little bit wide. And that was pretty much how the remaining 6 laps or 4 laps of the race played out. Nick Kelly really did sat there and said, right, I'm just not going to throw this championship away at trying to win the race. And there it is, the checkered flag for Scotty Taylor, winning on debut.
Scott Taylor starting off pole, Nick Kelly in second, Dave Stevens in third, came close to winning the race a little bit earlier on today. Matt Stoupas out of P4, and Nagara in fifth, and the side of the group Porsche of Chris and Luke Seiler will start out of sixth. 6 cars, but we did see a barnstorming race a little bit earlier on today. Scott Taylor taking his first Trophy Series win on debut in the series as well, so not a bad result for him.
Lined up across the front, it's an Audi and a Porsche, a couple of Audis in the back there, but it's Dave Stevens in the Ferrari who did a really good job earlier on today. He looks to get down the inside of Matt Stoupas, puts one wheel up on the ripple strip and commands third place in this race as Nick Kelly not getting away very smartly through that first couple of corners, but he has for the first time gone back to P3 this weekend. And there's his title contender right behind him in the number 23 KFC Audi. So the Porsche and the Ferrari already establishing themselves quite a good push out in front. But as we saw this morning as well, Matt, these Audis get away a little bit slower than these other cars at the front. We know that they can come on strong at the end. So in the back of our minds, we're always considering the fact that the Audi Customer Sport Racing team have got these cars set up to come to the line as hard as anything, don't they?
Yeah, it tends to take a couple of laps for the Audis to really get the best out of everything, bring the tyres and brakes up to temperature and pressure and everything else. The Porsche's always generally a gun out of the gates. Scott Taylor leaping from pole position to take the lead at turn 1 and 2, but how was Dave Stevens around the outside at turn 2, relegating Nick Kelly back to third place. Scott Taylor from Dave Stevens in front 2. Porsche from Ferrari do look for Nick Kelly to close back in on these two, though, in a couple of laps time. Typically that takes 4 to 6 laps for the Audis to really get into that sweet spot, the operating window.
It's colour in just the background, I guess, as far as this is the championship race. This will crown our champion. The 2 cars out in front really are not going to play any part. Once this race is over, yeah, they can get themselves 1 and 2 on the podium. But we cast our eyes to the long game, which really comes down to one race. So it's quite a short game, really, isn't it? It's only a 50-minute game. But these two, which we're looking at on screen now, the Industry R8, the KFC R8, really are the 2 main protagonists that we're keeping an eye on for this title chase at the end of this next 48 minutes.
Yeah, Nick Kelly currently holds a really good advantage in the competition, but it's not done yet. The championship absolutely alive heading into this final race of the 2018 season. Kelly does lead the competition with 795 points. The man directly behind him in the KFC Audi, he's hungry for a good result here. He's on 736 points. So he'll be doing all he can to find a way through that Industry Audi and then pull a couple of car lengths clear and try and put some distance between he and Nick Kelly. Kelly, though, it's all in his favour at the moment. He just needs to keep going. But we've got 47 minutes. 47 laps, it'll be a long time around Winton. 47 minutes remaining in this 50-minute race.
It's a lot of times around the closeline, thanks Dick Johnson, isn't it? Remember that comment?
Yeah.
It's like racing around the closeline in the backyard. That was on the old shorter track too, the 2K track back then in the Group A days that DJ made that statement about Winton. Doesn't seem that long ago in the big scheme of things, but in GT form, you look at a Porsche that was winning GT races in 2005 and the Porsche now, they're a completely different, well, not completely, but a vastly different beast.
It's like watching a Porsche 911 GT3R versus a Porsche 944.
Very similar, very, very similar. And the intricacies of tuning these cars as well has changed quite a lot. You and I were extremely lucky and positioned at Sandown to see the Walkinshaw team go to work on a brand new Evolution rear wing, and it was literally handbook out.
Yep.
And how does this work? And it was adjusted nicely, and it was only moments later that Liam Talbot went and put it on pole. John Martin went and put it on pole position for the race. So it's that evolution that Porsche just keep ticking those boxes. They get a wish list, they fulfil the wish list, and then send it to their customers.
Yep, there's a new Porsche 911 GT3R out for next year as well, along with the new Aston Martin GT3 and a bunch of other cars, a new Audi R8 iteration coming out with an Evo pack for their cars. So lots happening in the GT3 space globally. We'll see some of those cars coming to Australia. We are expecting to see a brand new Aston Martin GT3 in the Australian GT Championship next year, but here we are looking at the older spec machines. GT Trophy Series. Now, where's Nick Kelly gone?
Car number 222, the Porsche, leading the way with Scotty Taylor at the wheel. The Ferrari 458 GT3 of Dave Stevens in P2. The Audi R8 LMS Ultra in third and fourth there of now Matt Stoupas has gone through on Nick Kelly. So that is, well, championship affecting, not changing, but championship affecting. But now we're starting to see some pressure from Matt Stoupas, who is currently running second in the championship. He's a little bit distant on the points, but he's certainly, if he can win this race and Nick Kelly doesn't consolidate, he can certainly put himself right back into contention. At the moment, Nick Kelly's just dropped that spot back into P4, 4 seconds back here on the Morris Finance leaderboard, and
He'll have
gets
that one.
through, gets through, snuck that one right through, didn't he? A nice job there, Matt Stoupas.
Yeah, the only way that could be sneakier was if he was wearing black.
Stealth, backstage crew style, hey? Ninja style.
Yeah, caught Dave Stevens unaware there, snuck through at turn 10, took second place from the Ferrari. So Scott Taylor now leads from Matt Stoupas. Man, late move.
That
Good
is
on
a
the
late
brakes.
move.
And good awareness.
But Dave Stevens just avoided any further terminal damage, you'd have to suggest. Nick Kelly's actually starting to push a little bit harder again now. In fact, he's done his fastest lap of the race that last lap around. So bridging that gap. I wonder if Nick was trying to push the cold tyre too much and set the car to come on later on and just went, right, we have to get out of it. Or the team actually said, hey, Nick, you need to just ease off. Let's get those tyres up to temp before you push too hard and get some cold tyre graining. And once that happens, you're done. The Porsche and the Ferrari were supreme on the cold tyre, weren't they?
They really were. Matt Stoupas now shaping up for a move on Scott Taylor. Scott sees him coming, leaves the door open. Tries to do the over and under. He's going to be on the outside as they head down towards the penultimate corner. Stoupas on the inside, should by rights hold on to that spot. So good on the brakes though.
Nice Finance leaderboard sees, well, Scott Taylor back into P2. Swap those first two. Dave Stevens in third, and then Nick Kelly in fourth. Big thanks to Morris Finance for all their assistance. Of course, the Morris Finance Driver Lounge is a big part of the Shannons Nationals these days as well. There it is. If you're looking for your favourite brand, it's Audi, Porsche, Ferrari, Audi out in front in the 34th minute of the Australian GT Trophy race. Matt Stoupas leads the way on lap 11. Scotty Taylor looking as though he doesn't have the answer for the pace that Matt Stoupas is piling on now. The compulsory pit stop window is now open, so earlier today we saw pretty much everyone dive into the lane early, do some tyre pressure adjustments and get them back into that operating window because they tend to start to get quite warm and they do get over pressurised during the race. So the teams you'll see come along with the tyre pressure gauge, bleed a little bit of air out depending on what they've started the race with. And I believe that the Audis might have started off with a pressure that is going to come on better towards the end of the race. But this normalisation or adjustment phase that they can do in the pits, as we see Nick Kelly dive to the pits. So championship leader, he takes his opportunity to go to the pits. And maybe Nick Kelly has started with a different tyre pressure and that's why he hasn't been able to match the pace. There's our race leader, the Audi R8 LMS. Oris switch watches on the side, and of course industry closed, Kelly's very own company.
Yeah, plenty of time for them to service the car and do what they need to. They can change tyres if they so desire. As we see the Seidler Porsche, Chris Seidler in the lane. He'll hand that car over to Luke Seidler.
We'll be back trackside in just a few moments.
Scott Taylor in the lane, so too Dave Stevens receiving service, or only Matt Stoupas and Maria Nagara out on track yet to take their medicine. They must take a pit stop.
Scotty Taylor, big thumbs up to the camera there. He's very happy indeed. Big happy thumbs up to go. Now sees himself in position 3 in this race. And Scott Taylor has been in to take his compulsory pit stop, as has Dave Stevens, Nick Kelly, Luke and Chris Seidler. So our race leader Matt Stoupas yet to take that pit stop as Taylor leaves the lane. And currently in P2, Rio Nagaro, as Stoupas gets into the lane, just as we say that, but now it's Rio Nagaro, the only one left to take the stop. The Audi customer sport team going to work there.
Just checking pressures on the front and rear tyres. Bleeding off a pound or two, you'd think.
Australian GT Trophy race, still 24 minutes left to go. And just wait and see where that Stoupas rejoins this field. There's Rio Nagara. Tough weekend in the Eat Furniture HSY auto parts car. Good to see HSY getting involved with Australian motorsport. They're new to the aftermarket. Really a good company to deal with if you're in the European car sector, aftermarket, looking for parts and things like that. Certainly got a very aggressive approach to looking after the European branded product, and they've got a strong association with MPC as well, because we see Ash Samadhi running the GT Championship with HSY, and really good group of people to deal with on a day-to-day basis if you're in the European aftermarket, let's say automotive repair and panel repair, tools, etc. Check them out. As we see Dave Stevens now in the lead of the race. Matt Stoupas emerges from the pits. And Dave Stevens holds on to the lead. And Matt Stoupas does hold on to second place. So the Porsche of Taylor, which we're looking at now, getting around through the sweeper and up into Penrite. He's currently third. Rio Nagara and Nick Kelly's just about to take Rio Nagara as he has emerged from the pits.
Since the pit stop sequence concluded, Matt Stoupas was our racing leader heading into that portion of the race. Since clawed his way back up towards our race leader to make for this battle. Matt Stoupas, he needs all the points he can get. The more points he can score, the more pressure that mounts on Nick Kelly. We saw him getting a little bit frustrated in behind Rio Nagara. So Matt Stoupas has a look underneath Dave Stevens. Just closes the door, can't find a way through there. This one, you feel, is just starting to hot up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I guess Matt Stoupas just wants to give himself that every chance, doesn't he? And getting on through here is what it's all about. And Dave Stevens doesn't want to lose the spot. He wants to take a victory as well. He might not be taking the championship, but if you can take a victory away, you leave the weekend with a real spring in your step. I get the feeling that Matt Stoupas has got more under him at the moment and is going to continue to pressure for the next 12 minutes until he can get through.
Yeah, Dave Stevens just took a narrow line in towards the 789 complex as well, just to cover off that opportunity for Matt Stoupas to dive underneath. He's also sitting mid-track as they approach the penultimate corner. Again, just trying to scare Matt Stoupas out of having a look. Stoupas, though, unperturbed by that, sticks the nose down the inside anyway. Green endurance lights ablaze on the front of the KFC Audi. This real street fighter of a racer is Matt Stoupas.
Very good description. Very good description. Leaves no quarter, that's for sure. Comes to the races to go racing.
Doesn't ask for a quarter, doesn't give any in return either. Leaves nothing on the table.
Get the feeling that Dave Stevens responding to that too, actually.
Yeah.
He's feeling the pressure and going, right, oh, well, I know what you're about, but I'm leading the race and I don't have to give it up to anyone unless you want to get through. You'd have to try harder. So Dave Stevens is currently leading the way. We can see the gap to second place of Matt Stoupas. Then Scotty Taylor, some 15, 16 seconds back to Rio Nagaro. Nick Kelly really getting out the checklist of laps and just ticking them off, keeping the Audi going, staying out of trouble, enjoying the race from I guess a perspective that no one else in the field has got the luxury to do at the moment.
Just 10.5 minutes before he should be crowned title winner for 2018, but he's got to see the flag. If he doesn't see the flag, it could well go in favour of Matt Stoupas. Still just tucked up in behind Dave Stevens. Again, he's so good on the brakes versus those around him, but there's just no way through. Dave Stevens is positioning that Ferrari 458 brilliantly. everything he needs to do at the moment to maintain top spot. He's gone defensive now into 1 and 2. That'll compromise his exit. Might now give Matt Stoupas a look up towards turn 3. He's got a good run through 2. Pulls out. He's going up the inside down at 3. Now he's whipped in there. Can now Stevens do the over and under? No, Matt Stoupas takes the lead.
Good move there. He set that up once he saw Dave Stevens put the 2 left-hand wheels out onto the ripple strip of turn 1. It slowed him up, and then Dave Stevens didn't have the flow that Matt Stoupas did. He pulled out just cresting the hill underneath the gantry at the old start line here at Winton Motor Raceway, and through he went. Dave Stevens saw it coming. He realised that he'd set that up for Matt Stoupas to come through with the way he mucked around at turn 1 over the ripple strip. There goes Dave Stevens, not relinquishing his spot in second place. So a podium for him. It'd be really cool to see the Brennan IT racer Dave Stevens jump up on the podium for this race. Albeit, I think he finishes 4th in the Australian GT Trophy points hunt in the Morris Finance leaderboard for this race, with Matt Stoupas leading the way, 2.3 seconds clear of Dave Stevens in that aforementioned Ferrari. Scotty Taylor in the Porsche, and Rio Nagaro into the 5 here this afternoon. The first time this weekend in qualifying practice or the race 1 this morning. Good to see Rio back on track. And then it's Nick Kelly to Luke Seidler on the Morris Finance leaderboard. We thank Morris Finance, as we do to Shannons Insurance every time we go racing. 2 minutes left to go for the Australian GT Trophy race, and Dave Stevens goes round at the sweeper, and that could have been pretty nasty because he's just bounced back on over the ripple strip, grabs a cog and drives away from the dust and debris he's left on the track behind him. But wow, that was all of his own doing, because he was chasing down Matt Stoupas, and Scotty Taylor was a fair old way behind him. In fact, Scotty Taylor's still behind him because he's got Rio Nagaro right up behind him. So the Ferrari drives on, and let's hope there's no damage there. He's certainly flicking some stones and stuff out of the car. Here it is, wide, got out in the marbles, and just about, that could have ended up fairly nasty there. Rode up, bottomed out, skated across the top of the ripple strip and dispatched him off into the grass there. Once he got into the grass, and he was well around, just a matter of trying to haul that car up.
It reminds me of the penguins from Madagascar. Just smile and wave, boys.
Nothing happened.
The left front up in the air, just waving to everyone.
Nothing to look at. Nothing to look at on this Father's Day. Speaking
to Dave Stevens earlier on, he was actually saying that he's found a new way to go through the sweeper where he doesn't brake, he just basically lifts off the throttle, lets the aero wash, slow the car down. He's been doing that all day long.
In fact, that actually looked like he had aero wash then. It just looked as though the car really let go on him. He was wide, and it just continued to get wider no matter what he was trying to do at the wheel. So that plan had worked for, I'm going to say, all but the last minute and 30 seconds of the racing for the season. And here we have Rio Nagaro now onto the back of Scott Taylor, as Rio Nagaro got his sights set on the podium for the last race for the weekend and the series. I'd say yes.
Yeah, he's pretty motivated, is Rio. He's had a good weekend. He didn't have the pace to start with, but all weekend he's just been chipping away. His pace is now, he's got the best lap of the race.
Yes, too.
That's incredible.
Look at that. It's come to him right at the end of the day. Yeah. Well done, Rio. Well done, the guys down at Audi Custom Sport. They've obviously made some adjustments for Rio in the HSY Eat Furniture R8. And they're going to get around for another lap with 22 seconds left in this race. So Rio could get himself really up on the wheel and push hard on the back of Scotty Taylor for the last lap of the Australian GT Trophy Series. He can get himself up onto the back of the guy that won the race this morning in his debut in the Australian GT Trophy Series. What's Rio Nagaro got? What's Matt Stoupas got out in front? There he is in the number 23 KFC car. And Dave Stevens, even though he had what could have been a horrible off, he maintains his spot in second place. And Matt Stoupas is now 12 seconds clear of Dave Stevens. Nick Kelly just lurking almost in the shadows.
So Matt Stoupas 3 corners now from home. We are on the final lap of the 2018 2018 CAMS Australian GT Trophy Series. There's 2 more corners for Matt Stoupas to take what looks like it's going to be a race win here ahead of Dave Stevens. In the class of the field all race long, took the lead early on and lost it through the pit stops, but reclaimed it a couple of laps ago, and he's pulled clear ever since. So Matt Stoupas does what he needs to do to win the final race of the Australian GT Trophy Series campaign. We now look a little bit further back down the road to see where Nick Kelly comes home.
Here comes Scotty Taylor to the line now. Dave Stevens got home in 2nd place. Big congratulations to Dave and Scotty Taylor. What a really good debut in the Trophy Series, albeit that he's a main game GT Championship racer. And Rio Nagaro found his mojo towards the end of the weekend, getting home in P4. Great run there. So the results are Matt Stoupas got the victory there in the Audi R8. Certainly Dave Stevens got home in 2nd place there. Scotty Taylor in the 222 Porsche home there very nicely. Rio Nagaro in the Audi, and Nick Kelly coming home there in 4th place.
We hope you've enjoyed our coverage here at Winton. A big thanks to all of our broadcast team, but especially to all of the flag marshals and officials, some 80 of them, giving up their Father's Day to enjoy a fantastic weekend of racing. We really appreciate all of your efforts. We hope you've enjoyed it. We will catch you with the Shannons Nationals from Sydney Motorsport Park in a few weeks' time. Bye for now, everyone.